it's Marley from the Energy Boutique with your energy forecast for Thursday, September 16th. So the moon is still in this Capricorn energy, but we'll be going void of course, 2:40 a.m., locking into Aquarian energy around lunchtime. Again, Atlantic Standard Time. So this is going to be a good shift for us because when the moon is in Capricorn, we're kind of low, we're kind of slow, we're being faced with roles and responsibilities, we feel the weight on our shoulders, we get illuminated to our challenges, our obstacles, and where it is that we are facing restrictions and where it is that we're being held back. When we shift into Aquarian energy, things get lighter, things get brighter. Suddenly we are visionaries. We can see the path forward. We get a little bit rebellious. We get a little bit more kind of aggressive in breaking free from some of the restrictions, some of the obstacles and challenges that we just got illuminated to. So this particular energy does kind of create a little bit of a detachment from our emotions. Again, the Aquarian energy is asking us to act as the observer. We don't want to be in our physical forms. We want to be light and bright and airy. We want to kind of step outside of our meat suits and look down on us, on the situation that we're currently in, to get a better perspective, to get a better overview. So this is going to bode very well for us. Likely will not feel that dramatic shift until the midday, mid-afternoon point, depending on where it is that you are in the world. We have 10 different aspects taking place today. 7 of them involve the moon. So right out of the gate, we have the moon making a beautiful aspect with the sun, of course, still in Virgo, wrapping up the life lessons, wrapping up the tough love life lessons that Virgo season has brought us. So this particular energy bodes very well for us because, of course, the moon is still in Capricorn, Earth energy, and the sun is in Virgo, Earth energy. This is really going to help stabilize us, mind, body, and soul. It's going to provide us, again, with a good illumination on what it is we're struggling with, where it is that we're kind of feeling tied down, held back. And that sun in Virgo just wants to analyze the details, wants to come up with a solution, wants to really iron things out and open us up to new ways of thinking about the problems that we currently are facing. This is going to provide us with a solution to some of these problems. And not only that, is going to provide a huge alignment, mind, body, and soul, recognizing where it is that maybe things got a little bit dark and gloomy and somber while the moon was in Capricorn. And of course, huge light because of the sun on some of the inner workings of our mental narrative, of our day-to-day tasks, of the chores that we're kind of feeling weighted down with, and of course, provide us with a beautiful path forward. So the moon is going to go ahead and bump into Jupiter. Jupiter, of course, retrograde in Aquarian energy. This is really pushing us to step outside of our comfort zones, to recognize the boundaries that we've been operating in, where it is that maybe we need to kind of expand our minds a little bit, especially because the moon in Capricorn really does kind of put a damper on our emotions, really does kind of block us in the present moment. And Jupiter in Aquarian energy is visionary. We want to look forward. We want to think about the path moving forward. We want to think about solutions. We want to think about how we can honestly progress through the path with a lot less hesitation, a lot less of a challenge. And of course, the moon in Capricorn is very focused on those challenges, very focused on restrictions and blocks. So the moon at this point is going to be coming up to, sitting next to Pluto, who is retrograde in Capricorn. So Pluto is the god of the underworld. He does want to illuminate for us the shadow parts within ourselves. He does want to kind of zoom in on fears, insecurities, doubts, depression, guilt, all of those negative vibrations in order for us to use them as a source of power and motivation. Now, the moon conjunct sitting next to Pluto is a huge opportunity for us to get an emotional grip, for us to recognize where it is that, yes, things are changing. Yes, we have to cut the cord with some things. Yes, we have to boss up and really take our roles and responsibilities to a brand new level of commitment. And Pluto, although highlighting the dark parts, wants to show us that there's a lot of power in those dark parts. There's a lot of power in getting a grip over our emotions, in rewriting the mental narrative. And when this happens and we get these two on the same page, something beautiful happens. We align, we elevate, we boss up. And because of this, this is a huge soul healing predicament, right? And I say predicament because we're given a choice. Many of us are given the choice each and every single day whether we're going to stick to the old victim-like mentality, telling our same old sob story, keeping us in a state of paralysis, or whether or not we're actually going to boss up, detach from that, rewrite the narrative, rewrite the script, move on, make different decisions, break the patterns. So this is an opportunity for us to really change the game. The sun at this particular point in time is going to go ahead and bump into Jupiter as well. So the sun in Virgo, again, very analytical, very much focused on the details, where it is we have to roll up our sleeves and rework a couple of things in our physical days, in our physical environments, in order to align to the bigger, greater, grander path and vision. This is just a reminder that we have to use our will, use our discipline, use our physical energy to really take control of our environment and start doing the little things that add up to the big picture. You know, many of us are procrastinators, and I am raising my hand in case you can't see it. I am a procrastinator. Many of us are. Many of us only work under pressure, under pain, under suffering. This is a huge illumination for us where it is that, you know what? The great grand picture is a beautiful thing. It gives us hope. It gives us a direction. It gives us a dream and a focus. But then we can break that big picture down into manageable bite-sized pieces. Start focusing in on the little details. Take control of the little things in our lives that are going to add up to a big picture perspective. So this is going to be a beautiful energy for us to actually work with. Now, the moon, still very much in this Capricorn energy, is making a beautiful interaction with Chiron, the wounded healer planetoid. So as we've been discussing, the moon in Capricorn, not so keen on emotions. Again, we would rather just stick in the present moment and bombard ourselves with tasks and chores in order for us to stay busy, keep productive, so that we can ignore all of the emotions coming up. But of course, Chiron wants nothing more than us to dive into those emotions so that we can provide a dramatic shift in our energy. Why? Because we heal certain parts of our subconscious when we bring it into awareness. And the moon in Capricorn right now is bringing into awareness where it is that A, we are procrastinators, B, where it is that we're trying to avoid our emotions, and C, where it is that, you know what, we're recognizing loud and clear right now where it is that we are feeling held back, weighted down, restricted. And because of this, when we bring this into our awareness, we can do something about it. Once you know better, you can do better. So this particular aha moment of our emotions, of our mental plane, is bringing these details into focus so that they're not repressed. They're not in the shadows. They're not laying underneath the surface of our emotions. We are bringing them full focus so that we can accept them and say, hey, this is a problem. What are we going to do about it? Again, we're in Virgo season. It's time to really get down to the nitty-gritty of all that isn't working so that we can fix it. We can provide ourselves with some solutions. At this particular point, Venus, who is in Scorpio, really triggering a lot of intense emotions, obsessive compulsive thinking, probably illuminating where jealousy is laying dormant within us, where possessiveness is kind of getting out of hand, where our deep, dark wants, needs, and desires are finally coming to the surface for acknowledgement, and mostly where we're doing the inner work necessary in our psyche, in our heart space, in our soul space, in order to recognize the patterns, the behaviors that we've been repeating, keeping us in a pain pattern. Venus in Scorpio wants nothing more than to have a deep soul connection with the people around us and within ourselves. That Scorpio energy has one foot in the darkness and the other foot in the light, the alchemist of the zodiac, so that we can turn that pain into power. Venus in Scorpio bumps into Neptune, who is retrograde in Pisces, again, water on water. And this particular energy has the ability for us to float up out of our meat suits, to align with our higher selves, to pull in a dream and a vision for the future on what it is that we want to be doing with who it is that we want to be doing it with, in order for us to judge ourselves, criticize these relationships, and see where there's either an element where we're beating a dead horse and we have to cut the cord with these relationships for good, or where there's still potential, where there's still love, where there's still hope to build a strong enough foundation to actually see this intimate connection, these strong, intense desires actually have a possibility of living and thriving. This is going to be a magical time, although it is a tension point of us realizing maybe where it is that we're lacking, maybe where it is that we're not fulfilled, where it is that maybe we're not connecting on that deep soul level in which we crave. Having those realizations creates a whole new purpose for us to either stand up and fight for what it is that we want, or stand up and fight to detach from what it is we no longer want. This is a magical time of manifesting. We just have to hold a vision for the future, who it is that we see standing beside us in those particular moments, and trusting that with our higher selves, with the alignment of our intuition, with the rawness, the vulnerability, the authentic alignment with our heart space, that if we are able to be real with ourselves, peel back the lies, the delusions that we've created around this light and happy, fluffy reality in which we wish we were living, when we can cut the crap and come back down to reality, that's when the magic happens. But we have to be able to discern what we're kind of projecting, what we're in love with as far as potential, and what is actually real, what is actually fact, what is tangible, what do we have to work with. We tend to get lost in hopes and dreams, and not that that's a bad thing, because that's the motivation and inspiration to keep us going, but we have to be real with it, or else we're setting ourselves up for disappointment. So this particular aspect is really going to illuminate where it is we got to get real with ourselves, where it is that these darker parts are really kind of rearing their ugly heads, and aligning with our higher selves to decide what it is that we're going to do about it. The moon then shifts into Aquarian energy. We are feeling light. We are feeling bright. We are thinking about the future. We are now kind of revved up. We are ready to make some changes. We are ready to progress forward on our path. And this particular energy bumping into Mars, it's going to be a gooder. I'm telling you. Mars right now, very fresh into Libra energy. Mars is still kind of getting used to the fact that he can't exert himself physically with brute force right now. He has to think cleverly. He has to move into the battlefield of the mind. He has to fight for what is right and advocate for himself through communicating, all in which he is sorting through in his heart and in his head. So the moon in Aquarius trining with Mars right now, this is a good energy. We're using our emotions. We're identifying what it is we want, what it is we need, what it is we desire without getting sad about it. We're recognizing where it is that we're busting free from the old confines, the old restrictions, the old challenges and obstacles. And now, because our mental planes are fired up and ready to push and push and push the boundaries of what it is that we need to be doing for speaking for ourselves, advocating for ourselves, really fighting for what it is that we believe in, this Mars and Libra energy is really going to make us take action, stand up, stand out, speak up, speak out, and realistically put ourselves in a position, in a strong position, to start advocating for what we need, what is right in our heart, what makes sense in our head. It is going to be a dramatic shift. It is going to be a pressurized situation in the mental plane and in the heart space, but we're not going to get overwhelmed with it. We're going to allow our motivation to fuel the fire, fuel the flames that we need to have that cosmic fire lit underneath our butt to push us forward, to make us brave and courageous, to fight for what is right, to balance the scales within our heart and head. We get a beautiful reminder at this point because the moon in Aquarius trines the true node. The true node, of course, is trying to remind us what it is we're fighting for, where it is we're trying to be, the path in which we are walking in order to get from point A to point B. The true node wants us to rework a couple of things. And now that the moon in Aquarius is kind of emotionally detached enough to act as the observer, we're seeing the challenges, the obstacles that we've been facing, the heavier, darker emotions that have been bogging us down from a different light. And now we can start reworking this. Because we are kind of shifting out of that dark, somber, depressive, weight of the world energy of the moon in Capricorn, now we're flying high. We see the big picture. We're essentially, the eagle soaring over all of these inner workings going on down on the earth plane. We're able to see from a different perspective. And the true node, of course, hint, hint, nudge, nudge, trying to get us back on the path that's going to get us to our destination as fast and as easy and graceful as possible. This is going to be a huge shift in our perspective, a huge aha moment, a huge shift in energy where now we are feeling detached from those old attachments, those old ways of thinking, those old ways of feeling, and now we're adopting something new. We really get to drive this point home because the sun in Virgo is trining Pluto, the god of the underworld. So this is a beautiful realization because, again, the sun is illuminating bright light, blazing light on our day-to-day tasks, on our day-to-day chores, on our mental narrative, on where it is that we have to start taking care of ourselves first and foremost before presenting ourselves and our energy to other people. This is a huge aha moment, realizing that even though we think we're giving the best part of ourselves away to the people that we love, if we're operating from a half-ass empty cup, then they are not getting the best of us, nor are we getting the best of ourselves. This Virgo energy is very healing, but it puts the health and wellness of our own selves at the top of the list. We have some work to do. We have to rebalance the scales between the mind, body, and soul. And this alignment with Pluto, again, Pluto wants us to use those dark moments, use that pain, use that powerlessness from our past to fuel us up, to pump us up, to motivate us and inspire us to step back in our power, take our power back, and push this train forward. The moon in Aquarius is going to make a little bit of a tension point with Neptune right before we head off to bed. Now, here's the thing. Pay attention to your dream state because there are going to be some details, some hints and clues revealed in our dream state that are coming up from our subconscious in order to be illuminated in our awareness so that we can do something about it. The moon in Aquarius bumping into Neptune right now is a beautiful blending of the intellect and our intuition. However, this is a tension point. This is a semi-square. This is like a little bit of a confrontation in between these two. And this little confrontation needs to happen so that we can get back on the same level playing field. Why? Because the moon in Aquarius wants to push us out of our comfort zones, wants us to see the bigger, brighter vision, what is possible. The new connections being made inside of ourselves, in our inner realms, in our exterior realms. There are aha moments popping up every single moment that we move within ourselves and say, hey, subconscious, what is it that I'm blocking out? What is it that I'm repressing right now? What is it that I'm missing? The minute that you move within yourself and attach to your higher self and even ask for some guidance from the universal guides, that's the minute that the magic happens. So the moon in Aquarius has this big vision, has this, this want, need, and desire to kind of bust away from the old, to see what is possible when we step outside of our comfort zones and our boundaries. And then that Neptune energy, very dreamy, very imaginative, very hypersensitive to subtle energies. And because we are in an awareness cycle right now where we're trying to dig up things from our, lower octaves, our deep, dark, compartmentalized emotions and thoughts, because we are trying to do what is necessary to clean the slate for us to move forward and progress, this Neptune energy is going to provide us with a download from our higher selves, from our intuition, that gut feeling that, when we align to the higher intellect, when we align these higher vibrational frequencies to come in and mix with our egoic intellect, suddenly that's when the magic happens. That's when the solutions arise. That's when we have a shift in our energy. That's when we see a different path unfold. And that is when in our gut, we know that it's the right thing to do. We want to be cautious when Neptune is in play, though, because we tend to want to escape. We don't really want to think about life. We would prefer to numb. And we tend to kind of fib to ourselves, lie to ourselves, delude ourselves from what is true. But here's the thing. The moon in Aquarius has that eagle eye perspective. We see a couple of steps forward that weren't there this morning. And when we move into ourselves and we align with ourselves, we can get a gut reaction from our higher selves on whether or not these are the right steps to actually take.